broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this Tampa City Council meeting to order. May I have roll call, please?
Carlson.
Here.
Hurtek.
Here.
Clendenin. Henderson. Vieira. Miranda.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. I have a memo from Councilmember Clendenin that he will not be present this evening. The other council members are here. They'll be out here in just a second. May I get a motion to open all the public hearings? Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Hurtek. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Here they come. All right. There she is, and there he is.
Can I
All
also,
right.
just
Yes.
quickly, I had sent a memo previously saying I wouldn't be here tonight because my son is getting an award, but I have to leave by about 5:30, and so I hope to get through as much as I can by then, and then I can come back if you're not done.
All right. We have a motion. We already opened the public hearings? Yep. All right. So, Ms. Feely, items 1 and 2, and then we'll go to housekeeping. Yeah, for the sake of time. You want to start right now, right?
Yes, please.
All right, go ahead.
And
Please
I
say your
think we
name.
need to have the clerk go ahead and swear us in.
No, these are non-quasi judicial for 1 and
okay.
2. Quasi judicial starts at item number 5.
Okay, if I could have my presentation, please. Thank you. Good evening, Council. Abby Feely, Administrator for Development and Economic Opportunity. And with me this evening, I have Dennis Fernandez, the Manager of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation, as well as Tony Mulkey, the Director of Parks and Recreation, and Rebecca Johns, Senior Assistant City Attorney. As you're aware, Council, the city has a number of different agreements, easements, and other instruments with the University of Tampa as our partnership with them over numerous years. On September 5th, the city brought before council 2 revised leases, one for Plant Park and one for McKay Hall, that included both a lease and a land conveyance. At that time, city council wanted additional information to have further discussion related to the leases, the use of Plant Park, and the land associated with McKay Auditorium in a public hearing format, which is what brings us to you this evening. We are going to do a brief presentation, and in just a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Dennis to just give you a little history and background. I do want to talk to you a little bit about the rezonings and how the city's land has been included in those rezonings, the number of them since 2002 and prior to that have come forward before this council. We're going to talk a little bit about city lands and interests, and then review the historic designations that are on this property, and then we'll talk about those leases and then approval. So just to go over for you the current campus of the university, this is a very recent aerial. You'll see the multi-purpose building has been completed, which was the university's newest addition. This has Cass to the north, North Boulevard, which goes directly through the campus, West Kennedy on the south, and the Hillsborough River on the east. If I can just pause for a moment. If I could please have the screen so I can see my presentation in front of me. With that, the campus is comprised of 93 acres today, and that most recent rezoning came before the city in 2019. So I do want to turn it over to Dennis for just a few minutes to talk about some of the history, and then we'll continue.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Good evening, council members. Dennis Fernandez, Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Manager. Always a pleasure to talk about the Tampa Bay Hotel, an iconic building in our city. The Tampa Bay Hotel was constructed in 1891 by Henry B. Plant as part of the Plant system of railroads, steamship lines, and winter resort hotels. He actually had 8 hotels in the state of Florida, and I believe ours is much the significant version of that. Designed by architect John Wood in a Moorish revival style, and the landscape of the grounds was designed by Anton Fay. Recognizing the tremendous potential of the hotel resort, the city constructed a bridge across the Hillsborough River at the end of Lafayette Street, replacing the previous ferry. And you see a very early picture from 1888 of that bridge, which actually pivoted.
That's called the Bobtail Swing Bridge, correct? Which we have on
It's a
Columbus.
swing bridge.
It's a swing, okay.
Swing bridge, yeah.
I know that Columbus. Drive
Bobtails,
is like-
yeah, a little offset.
I tried.
Following Henry B. Plant's death, the city acquired the hotel and its grounds in 1905, opened Plant Park as a public park, and leased the hotel to various operators. The park area had been used, obviously, for the leisure of guests, but also for hunting and events associated with the resort.
Thanks, Dennis. And I guess what brings us to what's interesting about the history is that in 1933, the Tampa Bay Hotel became the home to the University of Tampa. The university actually started in 1930 at Hillsborough High School as a junior college and doubled its enrollment in the second year, becoming a four-year institution. And I wanted to include, I think that preparing for tonight has been a history lesson for all of us, but this headline was actually in the Tampa Tribune in 1933, and I think the quote is becoming, which says, "About to pass into obscurity, the famous building is again stepping into its role as one of the city's leading institutions, this time as an educational and cultural center." We touch a little bit about the university today. It is 93 acres. It's zoned PDA, which you all are familiar with, and it has a PSP, public semi-public land use underneath. The most recent rezoning, which came to you in 2019, allows for 6,000 beds and 2.5 million square feet of university operations. Total square footage in the PDA is 4.8 million. Interestingly enough, while the city owns Plant Hall, Plant Park, and the land under McKay Auditorium, those three assets have been rezoned every time the university has been rezoned as part of its campus. And those rezonings, as I mentioned, the most recent in 2019, I believe I did the 2015, and perhaps the 2011, and there was one from 2002 as well. One of the recent rezoning, one of the updates was to bring in acquisitions that the university had made. It also serves as their campus master plan, and it committed the university providing an annual tree survey to the city in January of each year to show what they were planting, and because they had allowances for removals in their PDA, it also touched on that. So that already actually just came in, I think, about 2 weeks ago. So as I mentioned, the city does own Plant Hall, Plant Park, and the land located under McKay Auditorium. In 1972, Mayor Greco entered into 2 leases with the university, one for Plant Park. So in 72, that just ended in 2022, and then also for the McKay Auditorium. We have a lease that is also for Plant Hall that was started in 1956, and that's a 99-year lease, which will come up in just about 32 years. Additionally, in 2011, with the Riverwalk Trail that is currently on that west side, the university granted the city an easement, and I can show you in the next slide. We go in the historic designations. That area in the corner of Plant Park where the trail runs along, just north of there is all University of Tampa property, and that easement was granted to the city from the university in order to allow for continued public utilization of that trail that is on the university's property. I'll now turn it over to Dennis, just back to talk about the historic designations.
These interests are also enveloped with a number of historic designations that are overlaid on the property. In 1972, Plant Hall and the guardhouse were listed on the National Register of Historic Places, one of the very early designations in the state recognizing this site for its historic value, not only locally but nationally and at a state level. 1976, it was listed as one of the first National Historic Landmark sites in the state. In 1989, it was designated as a local historic landmark, the Plant Hall portion of the site and the gatehouse. Early preservation efforts really focused on buildings more than sites. That's been a more recent development. So in 2001, recognizing the importance of the site to the building, the boundaries of the local historic landmark designation were expanded to include Plant Park. Plant Park was landscaped with over 150 different species of exotic plants, including palms, ferns, orchids, cacti, to match the grandeur of the hotel. The landscape was designed as an integral part of the tropical resort hotel concept and was highlighted in the tourist brochures which advertised the location. You see a great picture there of the park in its original concept. The 2001 City Council expansion of Plant Hall's landmark designation recognized the importance of the park to the historic setting of the Tampa Bay Hotel, and therefore was justified the criteria that was necessary to expand that landmark designation.
Thank you, Dennis. I think what's interesting, oh, okay, sorry, it just popped. It's kind of deciding it wants to. So in terms of our original leases from 1972, the Plant Hall lease, as I mentioned, is a 99-year lease. And its purpose is for college or university of higher learning. Its responsibilities, the lessee maintains the building, both the exterior and interior, and maintains for property damage and liability insurance. Limitations on this structure and any other use moving forward is due to that national and local historic landmark designation that we just talked about. In addition to this lease, there's also an operating agreement related to the museum and other obligations that the city and the university are in partnership on. In relationship to Plant Park, that 50-year lease that I mentioned came up in 2022, and that required that the lessee maintain the park and was responsible for property damage and liability insurance. The limitations to Plant Park are there's no public parking there, there's no restrooms, there's pedestrian access only from West Kennedy Boulevard, and as we just mentioned, it is a historic landmark area. In the discussion that took place on September 5th, City Council talked about the possibility of reprogramming this park, about allowing it to have other features or other uses, and as part of that, and part of this motion in preparing for this evening, Tony did we first looked at what is that historic designation, and the historic designation really limits that park as a more passive area that continues to honor the designation and the purpose of that designation, and keeping that in a way that it still functions as the Grand Lawn to what today is known as the Henry B. Plant Museum. There are other parks in the area that offer other programming, and those have increased greatly since 2005 to 2018. If council does have any questions, Mr. Mulkey is here to discuss that in context of the programming for Plant Park. In relation to the McKay Auditorium, stop this, sorry, this keeps just flashing. In relation to McKay Auditorium, this was also the 50-year lease at $10 a year. They maintain the building and property damage and liability insurance. The limitations, the premises of this piece of land is governed by that PDA zoning. It also is completely surrounded by the UT campus, and the premises operates on UT's private utility system. I want to take just a couple minutes on this. I did have just a separate, Ariel, if I could get the wolf, please, for a moment.
I like the wolf vision.
Wolf Vision, the Elmo.
It's coming, it's
The
coming. There it
property
is.
here is shown in yellow, so you can see how it is part of the fabric within the university. And then here is a survey of that property as well that went with the original lease from 1972. So in relationship to this, I'm going to talk just for a few minutes about what happened. So the city owns the land, but in 1993 was known as McKay Auditorium, caught on fire and predominantly destroyed the building. In 1995, Dr. Vaughn became president of the University of Tampa, and from that, I think what we have pieced together is came back to the city and said, you know, we're gonna rebuild this building. And they did a capital campaign in order to do that. They raised the money, and I read an article in preparation for this evening that said that Mr. Sykes had given $10 million to that capital campaign, and $7.5 million of that was going toward the construction of what is now known as the Sykes College of Business. Reconstruction began in 1998. We never changed our lease or talked further through that reconstruction of that structure that was paid for by the university, but it was reconstructed and reopened in 2000. And I thought what was interesting on this, and we all got a good giggle, is that when one of the highlights of this building reopening was it had data ports. And we all think about today how important that is in the context of things, but this was just 24 years ago that was cutting edge. To think where we are today with AI and other opportunities. But so in relationship to that, when these leases first came before council, it was council's request that we get an appraisal of this property, and I did send that to you all. We don't agree with some of the comps that were done in the appraisal. I don't want to get into all of the details of that tonight because I think that's only one piece of the equation of this total land in terms of the land, the building, the partnership, and the overall zoning of the university. But if you would like to discuss that or have any questions, we can talk about that at the end of the presentation. So in 2021, we were aware that these leases were going to expire in 22. We began discussions with the university, Rebecca Johns and myself, in order to modernize the leases, bring them into today's world from 1972, so to speak, including reflecting the university's current operations, implementing the city's Build Grant Award, and formalizing the process for utilization of Plant Park by the public. And the leases did expire in 2022, and we've been operating on a month-to-month basis. Oh, sorry about that. What is before you this evening for approval? As I think we've had previous discussions, we cannot lease a public park for more than 25 years without a referendum. So there is a new lease for your consideration for the 25 years. That includes a lot of the same conditions. The university will maintain the park, and they're responsible for any property damage. They carry the liability insurance. We have established a reservation system for the public use of the park. That's already been active. It is on university's webpage under the About Us. You can put in a request to reserve the park if you would like to use it. And the new lease acknowledges that a portion of the park will be used for the reconstruction, renovation of the trail. So that's adding the other unified elements of the trail that will be the same design element through the whole West Riverwalk. So this lease acknowledges the city's ability for that section to be constructed in that way. In terms of McKay Auditorium, this is the same. We have a $10 per year on the lease for that. The difference in this is that we are proposing that the lessee may elect to take title to that property within 1 year of the lease amendment. Oops, sorry. I know we've had briefings with many of you, and also that many of you have spoken with the university. If it is council's pleasure to approve these tonight, we respectfully would request that. There were two conditions that we wanted to have added to this. The one for McKay Auditorium would be to add a reverter to that conveyance, that if in fact it is no longer used for university purposes, that city would be returned to this, that property would be returned to the city, excuse me. And then in terms of the Plant Park lease, is that in the event the city would want to hold, that lease now contains hours from, right now it's dusk till dawn, that the trail is closed, but with the new Riverwalk, we have come to an agreement that that would be from midnight to 5 a.m. So Councilman Clendenin had wanted that if the city wanted to use it in between that midnight to 5 a.m., that we would be able to put in language that we would have the opportunity to request that of the university, and the university would entertain that request, which we feel like we have today, even with our partnership with them, but there was a desire to have that within the language of the leases. With that, I believe the university would like to make a presentation, and I will turn it over to President Dahlberg.
Thank you.
All right, is called a wolf?
Yes.
Is that it? Okay.
Good afternoon. Please state your name.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Teresa Abinator Dahlberg, President of the University of Tampa. I reside at 128 Biscayne Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33606. I was told to say that, so. I appreciate that many of you have sat down and talked with us in the past several months. The Tampa Chamber of Commerce founded the University of Tampa to provide higher education for Tampa students and a talent pipeline for the city. Today, UTampa is a top talent provider, and I give you some statistics, some of the data here to support what I'm saying. We're a top talent provider, and we also have a 1.5 annual economic impact on the city. Our partnership includes the restoration and ongoing maintenance of Tampa's most historic treasures. So you can see here, and also in the detailed slides that we sent, that we spend over $2.5 million of the university's money every year to maintain and support Plant Hall, Plant Park, and the Henry B. Plant Museum. Our ongoing partnership includes the West River Walk and taking over the city's water infrastructure underneath the campus, adding significant additional annual expenses and assumption of deferred maintenance to the university. As president, I see significant collaboration and resource investment in this partnership from the University of Tampa. From my perspective, we are serving this city well and making the best and highest use of our leased and owned properties. Thank you, council members.
Thank you very much. Does that conclude the presentation? Ms. Feely?
Scott, do you?
Yeah, I'll just say a couple quick words. Scott Gosen, Assistant Vice President of Design, Construction, and Facilities for the University of Tampa. Can we please have our presentation put up, please?
Can we please have the University of Tampa's presentation?
It'll come up in just a moment. They're going to transition it over.
Honestly, we can probably I can probably make do without it while it's coming up, just to be time sensitive here. I think Abby did a really good job representing the relationship and the complexities of these properties in relation to our campus. With regards to Plant Park, I think we've addressed previous concerns by setting up that park rental process in conjunction with Parks and Rec. Just in case the council had any questions, I did bring a log of all the current requests since that process was set up. So this dates back to January of 2024, and there has not been one event disapproved by the university since that day. There have been a couple things that we approved, but for instance, we said no dunk tank was allowed, which I think is pretty fair. We do get a couple other phone calls to try to do some larger events in there. And usually those calls kind of fizzle out once they realize that there's no parking and restrooms and power, and then they move on without actually submitting a request. So I think we've kind of worked with the city. I think we got a good process there. With regards to McKay, I think, once again, Abby did a good job kind of conveying how it's kind of interwoven into the campus. Our last two PDAs don't even call it out with regards to any easements or obstructions or restrictions. Most of the utilities that are underneath the campus are all private. So for instance, electrical, it enters the northwest side of campus and it's all privatized from there. There's no public access to the site. It's all private roadways. So the nearest public access to the site is Kennedy or North Boulevard. So once again, there's a lot of flaws in that appraisal. If you guys really want to dive into that, which I'd be happy to do if you have any questions. But yeah, I guess with that, it would be time sensitive. I'm going to cut my presentation short, and I'm here to answer any questions if council has any.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the sake of time, I'm going to be supporting both of these items. I've reviewed the leases. I understand the changes that were put in place regarding the McKay Auditorium, if it's no longer used, for college, university purposes, and then regarding the park. My mother attended UT. I was there for just my first year, and then I went off to USF. So many memories, so many positive things. Every time I've been sworn in, because I'm in my third term, I wear a gold minaret lapel pin. It is the symbol of Tampa, and everybody recognizes it. And I can tell you an hour-long story about why this place is special, but the economic impact and the students that graduate and the students that are not leaving, that they're staying, different from when I was there, I can't say any more positive things about the university. So I'm happy to support this. And I'll defer to Councilmember Carlson. Thank you.
Yeah, just a statement and a comment. I'm very supportive of this. I went to the University of Tampa, and I said to President Dahlberg a few minutes ago, the reason why I went to the University of Tampa was because of Governor Martinez. He was mayor, and I thought University of Tampa was trying to recruit me, and it was a different financial situation then. But I thought, wow, if the mayor of Tampa can go to this university and be so successful with all the things he had done, then it's got to be good for me. And his career took off after that. So, anyway, so thank you to the governor for inspiring me. But Scott, we talked about the budget for the McKay Auditorium. Dr. Vaughn, predecessor president, was a professor of mine, and I stayed in touch with him over the years. So he was dean of the College of Business around 92, 93, and I remember he was trying to raise about $40 million where that renovation of that building was going to be central to it. He ended up raising, I think John Sykes ended up putting in 40 million, and they raised 100 million. But of that 100 million, how much of it was more than 7 million that went into the building, right? So the University of Tampa saved the building, but completely rebuilt it. Everything on the inside is completely built and paid for, but it was probably tens of millions, not just 7.
It was, yeah. The construction was more than that. After the fire, it was actually open air, so it actually laid there derelict from 1993 until about 98 when construction started.
So the point is that if not for the University of Tampa, that building might not even be there. But all the investment on the ground really was done by the University of Tampa, and thanks to John Sykes and his family friend.
Thank you.
Councilmember Miranda.
No, I'm just saying that when you look at the history of Tampa, you got to include the University of Tampa. In fact, I remember being a young man, that was 100 years ago, and I remember walking through the campus to get to see the Tampa Smokers play the Cuban Hurricanes, Cuban people in Miami, Sunset, and so forth, all the teams that they had. And I remember most, they had a bear and an alligator on the perimeter. Does anybody remember that? I tell some people, and they look at me like I'm insane. I said it was right there, close to the big gun. And it was a wonderful thing to see the university grow. I remember when you had athletes like Freddie Solomon, John Matuzak, Noah Jackson, all those that played that I think they could have beat anybody in the country. They certainly stood well to beat Tulane. I think Miami was there, and nobody wanted to play the University of Tampa. Not Florida, not Florida State. They were what? Afraid. Because it's a little school with a lot of potential in athletics. I remember the coaches that were there, fine coaches that went on to do better things. And it's just a pleasure to see you and your staff here, some of them, and all the people here that went there. You had a governor, a mayor, and the same governor. You had Mayor Greco, Mayor Castor, and others that went there. So it's incumbent upon all of us to understand that this is not only a cultural thing, but it's an economic thing for both the University of Tampa and the city of Tampa. It's a marriage that should continue for many more years to come. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson, Councilmember Vieira, Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you, Chair. Certainly, the University of Tampa is a beautiful facility. So much so that surprisingly, my niece found her way from Maryland to play lacrosse for the University of Tampa. It used to be a restaurant there, but I miss that, but the lacrosse field is absolutely beautiful. But what I really appreciate in my meeting with the president was the time, care, and attention to Plant Hall is just totally incredible. It is a beautiful structure, and it takes a lot of money to maintain it and even the renovations that's necessary to keep it going. But more impressive was you all saving or restoring McKay Auditorium, because it did sit empty for a few years. It belonged to the city. We didn't do anything about it, and you all took that on. And I really appreciated that as a part of the story. I have no problem supporting this, but it does provide me with an opportunity to say to the citizens that are listening, as well as to these council members, when it comes to historical spaces, the time and care that we have taken on for this particular project should exist in predominantly African-American spaces as well. And I've had to say that before. The love and attention and care of preserving the University of Tampa was not represented in several spaces that are predominantly African American. And I can go on and on and on and list them. They are beyond gentrified. And so this is an opportunity for me to say that, because we have certainly taken the opportunity through our lawyers and executive staff, as well as the university, to make sure that the University of Tampa will thrive for a very long time. So I'm happy to support it.
Councilman Vieira, Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And now I just want to say, because there's a lot of people here, I'll support these items. Obviously, we spoke about it on the phone, and I said that I was glad to do that. UT, I'm a USF Stetson College of Law guy, so I did not go to UT, but UT is obviously, to call it a great institution is an understatement. I know we have 3 council members here who have connections with University of Tampa. We were talking about the fact that I believe Tampa has, I may be wrong, 3 Medal of Honor recipients: Paul Ray Smith, who went to Tampa Votech; Baldemaro Lopez, who went to Hillsborough High; and then Ronald Ray, who graduated from University of Tampa with a bachelor's, I believe it was, in United States history, and he would serve as Undersecretary of Veterans Affairs for President Busch I. And so he, amazing man, got the Medal of Honor in Vietnam, and he went to the University of Tampa. So something to certainly look at. If y'all ever want to connect with him, I have his cell phone, so let me know. But again, glad to support this. Great, UT's a wonderful institution. And this is something that makes sense. Thank you.
We have 2 Civil War Medal of Honor recipients at Woodlawn on Boulevard as well, so even more. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I really appreciate the extra detail, the history, the background, the knowing about the zoning of this property. I also appreciate having learned about the new rental system for Plant Park. Really love the idea of the reverter. That, oddly enough, makes me much more comfortable about this. But one of the reasons that I really wanted a public hearing for this is because the city of Tampa, in past administrations, has had a history of giving away property. And I really believe that the public needs to be aware when we are possibly giving away property. And so that was one of the reasons I wanted to have this, and that Councilmember Clendenin did as well. But again, knowing the history, knowing more about it, everything I've learned in that time has led me to absolutely support this going forward. But again, had a lot of questions, really wanted them answered, and I appreciate the time and care that everyone has done in moving this forward. And I know that Councilman Carlson would really love to vote on this so he can go celebrate his son.
So just a technical question, because Councilmember Carlson, his son is getting an award in a little bit. Can we vote on this? Can we ask to see if there's anybody against this? Do we have to do all the public comment? Can we
just ask people to raise their hand?
Is there anybody here against this? Yes, ma'am, if you wish. Come on up. And please state your name.
Mimi Graham.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
And there are 3 of us here that were representatives of Friends of Plant Park. It was an organization that lasted, I'd say, around 20 years. And what we did was to try to restore the park to the time of Henry B. Plant. We worked with Dr. Vaughn, and we had his approval. We had the park in 5 different stages, trying to bring it back from the star bed to the flagpole of the Teddy Roosevelt flag. We put benches in there that represented people that visited the park. For example, Booker T. Washington, Jackie Robinson, Queen Elizabeth. We've also done things like restore the palm walk. We got sprinklers put in. We did everything to try and make it a beautiful park. It has been used. We feel we're very happy to have anybody use the park, but we'd like to keep it the way it is and with no drastic changes. The other thing is, too, we had it surveyed, and it's under preservation. We worked with the city on that, and we did a survey on it as well. So just wanted to give you, an organization's point of view.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Is there anybody that is against this in any way and wishes to speak? If not, Mr. Shelby, yes, Ms. Johns.
Becca Jones, Legal Department. I just want to remind you, if so inclined, if there's a motion to approve and if you want to include the 2 additions that Ms. Feely had in her presentation, that you just add that to your motion.
Okay. May I get a motion to close 1 and 2? We have a motion to close
Second.
from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Miranda, wait, Councilmember Carlson, you do number 1 and you do number 2. I didn't graduate for
He can
UT,
do both of
and
them.
you both did, so I have to.
Spartans.
Well, you told me, I had to stay there next for you to pass.
right.
Chairman, you want me to read it, you want to pass it?
Just move the resolution. Move the substitute.
Second.
24-8399.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, and this is including the revisions that were added. Yes, second from Councilmember Carlson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, number 1 is unanimous, and number 2, Councilmember Carlson, you move that.
I'll move file number DEO 24-8416, substitute resolution.
All right, with the revisions.
With the
that were
revisions.
added. We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that was unanimous. Thank you very much.
Can I,
This is the record and the transcript, that's what council member, wait.
Yes?
Just the clerk knows that council member Clendenin was absent in the record.
can I say,
Just a moment. Wait.
I just want to say real fast, I got to go see my son. There's so many important people in the audience, and I asked President Dahlberg, because I really wanted to vote on this, I said, can we just limit public comment? But thank you to all the really important people for coming here, because the University of Tampa is a great cause.
Councilmember Vieira. No, all right. Yeah, and please read it with Clendenin being absent at both.
Motion carries with Clendenin being absent.
Still lonely here.
Right, during hours, they saw the guy come in, and he made big things.
All right. Ms. Doc, you want to clean up the agenda?
Yes, good evening, Chairman and Council. Thank you so much, LaShawn Doc, Development Coordination. And,
Excuse me. Yes, ma'am.
And thank you, Council. LaShawn Doc, Development Coordination. Prior to clearing the agenda, if I could take a moment just to introduce, I'd like to reintroduce Leo DeBartoleben, Leo is an urban planner too in our office. Leo presented the last hearing that we had, but we introduced him in the summer. Then we had the storms. We didn't have 2 meetings, and then he presented the last hearing. So I just wanted to give a brief intro because I didn't introduce him again. But he is an urban planner too. He handles alcoholic beverage sales applications in our office. Leo was an urban planner 1 in development coordination, and in that role, he processed administrative reviews for alcoholic beverage sales, special use 1s, and other administrative review processes. So that gave him a great background for the role that he has in this position in urban planner 2. So on the alcoholic beverage sales nights, you will see Leo presenting.
Stand up.
On the, yes, please, Leo, we're very proud of him.
Welcome again.
And we know he'll do a great job. And then on the nights of rezonings, that's when you will see the other urban planners, Sam, you will see Stephanie and Chris. So I just wanted to clear that for the record and just
All right.
introduce them again.
We will miss you, Ms.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, yes. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Malone with the Planning Commission.
Wait, do we need to,
We have 1 item that's for continuance, that's item 3.
no, item 4. I have the
Item
South
4,
Magnolia.
I'm sorry, item 4. The request is to continue the item to June 12th.
All right, we have motion continue item number 4 to June 12, 2025, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602 at 5:01 PM. Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that takes
And one
care of
other
it.
item, if I may, on item 5, I just want to clarify for the record that that request is for a large venue, beer, wine, liquor consumption on premise only. And on the agenda, in the top portion of the agenda for item 5, it says with package sales, but it is consumption on premise
Okay,
only.
so no package sales. All right.
Correct.
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
thank you.
All right, we're going to start off with item number 3. Ms. Malone, you're starting with 3?
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff. I'm going to be up here very briefly because I was going to introduce Quinn Steele. She's with the Planning Commission, and this is her first presentation for you all tonight. So I will be available for any questions until you have any. Thank you.
All right, welcome to Tampa City Council. Go ahead. Please state your name for the record.
Quinn Steele, Planning Commission staff. Today I'll be presenting TA CPA 24-12, which is a map amendment for 801 East 26th Avenue. The request before you is privately initiated in small scale, covering approximately 1.61 acres, and the request is to change the future land use designation from residential 20 to community mixed use 35. Here's a general location map. The subject site is within the Central Tampa Planning District, the East Tampa Urban Village, and the VM Ybor neighborhood. Here's an aerial photo of the subject site, which is outlined in yellow. It's generally located between North Nebraska Avenue and I-275 off of East 26th Avenue. Just north is Burrell Park. To the east, we have a daycare and a church, and to the south and the west are single-family detached homes, and there are also 2 vacant lots here owned by DOT. Across I-275 is Robles Park and Robles Park Village. This photo is looking east down East 26th Avenue towards 3322 North Nebraska Avenue. Burrell Park is on the left, and the subject site is on the right. This is looking west down East 26th Avenue towards 3321 North Taliaferro Avenue and I-275, and the subject site is out of frame to the left. These are the properties located to the south of the subject site along East Plymouth Street, and looking south on East 26th Avenue directly towards the subject site. The adopted future land use map designates the site as residential 20, which is outlined in black. Just north is Rec Open Space, which is Burrell Park. To the east is Community Mixed Use 35, and to the south and the west is residential 20. As you move north and east along Nebraska, the designation transitions to Community Commercial 35 and Residential 10. This map shows the proposed future land use as Community Mixed Use 35, which would allow for a 2.0 FAR or 35 dwelling units an acre. Under the existing residential 20 designation, the site can be considered for 32 dwelling units or just over 35,000 square feet of non-residential uses subject to locational criteria. Under the proposed community mixed use 35, it could be considered for 56 dwelling units or just over 140,000 square feet of residential or non-residential uses. The proposed amendment would introduce the potential consideration for commercial general uses and increase the density and intensity across the site. During our agency review process, none of the agencies raised any concerns with the request. It also went before the Planning Commission and was found consistent with the following objectives and policies. The request would promote density near transit as it's in proximity to North Nebraska Avenue, which is a designated transit emphasis corridor, and also provides public transportation. And it would also promote a mixture of uses and provide infill on a currently vacant site. The Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Manassi. Please state your name, sir.
Good evening, City Council. Ryan Manassi with Johnson Pope, Director of Development and Planning. If I could have the presentation pulled up by CCTV.
It's coming up.
Great.
All right, go ahead, sir.
I think I just lasered you guys, sorry. There we go. All right. Again, we're here tonight for 801 East 26th Avenue, TA CPA 2412. As staff stated, we are requesting the change from R20 to that CMU 35 category. And the request includes, just so you're aware, half of the vacated North Mitchell Avenue, which is to the west, and then the half of the vacated alley, which is along the eastern boundary. And that was done by a previous plan development rezoning as well as vacating. And just to point out that that planned development was for a multifamily development. So any approval with this to R20 to CMU 35 would require that PD to come back before you and be reviewed and approved for any additional intensity or density. The property is within the East Tampa Urban Village, and it's about a half a block from Nebraska Avenue, which again is a major mixed-use corridor. Additionally, CMU 35 is adjacent to the property on the eastern boundary and I think a little portion of the southern as well. According to the comprehensive plan, the long-term goal for urban villages is to provide a living and possibly a working environment for those people who are looking for something that has a definite urban flavor, which uniquely belongs to Tampa, which again, we think that CMU 35 request can actually bring. So the conclusion of the PC staff report, which we agree with, is that the request is consistent with the existing pattern of land use categories in the area. Additionally, I'd just like to point out Robles Park, which is located about a quarter-mile northeast, was approved in 2021, which mirrors our request. Obviously, that one was a lot larger, but again, it's that CMU 35 abutting the R20, making this request comparable and compatible with the neighborhood and surrounding land use classifications. And just a picture of the actual comp plan map as it is. Our request would allow for that potential of a mixed-use infill development within close proximity to public transportation and employment areas. Also, the request would increase the use of the existing infrastructure and promote additional housing opportunities. Now, just to point out, City of Tampa Planning does issue a report for these CPA amendments. As you're aware, there's 2 criteria that they list in their reports. They found that we met those criteria and there were no other objections from city agencies. The next 4 slides, and I'm not going to read them, but they are part of the record. I did submit this presentation to the clerk. They are policies and goals, goals, objectives, and policies that support our request. And then in closing, our request promotes reasonable expansion of the CMU 35 category in this neighborhood. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, comparable and compatible with the neighborhood, and consistent with the existing land uses in the area. The request is nearly identical to the Robles Park Amendment that I explained earlier, that was approved in 2021. And again, staff found the request consistent. Planning commissioners voted and found it approvable and passed that on to you, City Council. And we have received actually 3 letters of support that were part of the record, and they are submitted in on-base. I believe that's what it's called, not SIRE anymore. And with that, I'm available for any questions, should you have any.
Any questions?
I'm kind of excited about this one here.
Okay, is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 3? I see no one. May I get a motion to close? Motion to close from Councilmember Henderson. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilman Vieira, would you mind reading item number 3?
Move an ordinance presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 801 East 26th Avenue from residential 20R20 to mixed use, strike that, to mixed, community mixed use 35 CMU, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion and a second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, City Council.
Thank you, sir.
Do you want to do roll call?
Yeah, no, not roll call. It was unanimous with Clendenin being absent.
Motion,
And Carlson.
motion passes unanimously with Carlson being absent at vote and Clendenin being absent.
Thank you.
Second reading and adoption will be held on February 20th, 2025 at 10 a.m. in City Council Chambers, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, for items 5 and 6, they're quasi judicial. If you are going to be speaking on 5 or 6, please stand, raise your right hand, and we will swear you in. If you will be speaking on 5 or 6, please stand, raise your right hand.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, sir. Please say
Good
your
evening,
name.
Council and Chairman. Leo DeBartolome, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 5 is AB 2-2446. This is for the property at 1901 East 7th Avenue. The applicant is Colin Rice, and the property owner is 701 Garber Investments, LLC. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales, large venue, beer, wine, and liquor, consumption on premises only. The applicant is requesting AB sales in 16,600 square feet of indoor area and 2,337 square feet of outdoor area for a total AB sales area of 18,937 square feet. The AB sales hours are consistent with Chapter 14. There are no parking requirements in the Ybor City Historic District. I'm going to place the aerial map of the site here. This is the subject site outlined here in red. The site is on the southeast corner of East 7th Avenue and North 19th Street. The property is zoned YC1, which is the central commercial core in Ybor City, and you can see that pattern along East 7th Avenue here. This is the site plan provided by the applicant and the elevations that I'll pull up here in a minute. The applicant currently has an approval for AB sales for a special restaurant for the sale of beer and wine on the first floor only. The request will add liquor and change the designation to a large venue. This is the plan submitted by the applicant. You can see the property boundary here in bold. And you can see the proposed areas for AB sales on these depictions here. There are a few outdoor areas here. On the second floor, I'll draw your attention to the property boundary, and between first and second reading, this balcony area that's shown as proposed AB sales area will be removed as it's not on the property and in the right-of-way. These are elevations of the proposed additions to the third level. I also have some pictures of the site here. This is a picture of the north elevation. You can see this is 7th Avenue here, and this is North 19th Street. This is the balcony area that's not going to be included in the AB sales area. This is another view from 7th Avenue. This is facing east on 7th Avenue. The site will be on the right. This is facing west. You can see the Acropolis restaurant here, and the subject site will be on the left there. It's another photo of the Acropolis Restaurant. This is the west elevation off of 19th Street. Here's another photo of the site. The west portion of the site, you can see the rear of the building here, separated by the alley. That would be not part of the request or the property. This is facing north on 19th Street. You can see the subject site on the right. This is the rear of the building, and there's a parking lot that is adjacent to the south. Here's a view south of the site on 19th Street. You can see it's the railroad tracks there. There is one waiver associated with this request, and it's regarding a distance requirement to other AB sales areas. Development coordination and compliance staff reviewed the request and the application and find it inconsistent with the applicable City of Tampa land development regulations. Minor site plan modifications are required to be made between first and second reading, and I'm available for any questions.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the current, you said that there's a current alcohol beverage license.
Yes,
What are
ma'am.
the hours of that current alcohol beverage?
The
permit?
hours would be consistent with the restaurant, and I have the approval letter here. Let me refer to that. Let's see here. The hours of operation, I'll put this up here and read it out. This is the current approval. Hours are limited to 11 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday and 1 a.m. Thursday through Saturday.
Thank you.
Anything else? Nope. All right, we have an applicant for this. Mr. Rice, yes? Mr. Singer, please state your name.
Good evening, Council. David Singer, here for the applicant with the law firm of Older Lundy, 1000 West Cass Street. This is an AB2 request, as you heard, to expand what is already an existing AB2 approval. I want to just put on the record, the site plan for the existing approval says Chapter 14, and that was our understanding all the way. I believe that's also in the staff report, that the hours already are Chapter 14 for beer and wine. Applicant is proposing to introduce a mixed-use establishment with a rooftop restaurant closing at 11 p.m. Street-level art installation and retail to activate 7th Avenue, an interior bar lounge on the lower floors. There will be a full kitchen available at all hours. The existing building footprint, which is historic, is staying, of course, and the applicant is going to expand the building footprint. So the alcohol request before you tonight is to expand with the expansion of the building. And I will show you renderings of what that looks like shortly. Interestingly, and for context, in 1906, this building was called the Red Lion Saloon, with the coldest and best beer in town. But I will tell you that for the last 119 years, this site has been connected with AB establishments. We're seeking the large venue restaurant retail lounge with no package sales, just to be clear, no package sales, with hours of Tampa code. We'll address the special use criteria for your consideration. There are 3 floors that are proposed here, and the site plan for each is depicted here. The balcony, again, not proposed for wet zoning. The rooftop features a restaurant with outdoor seating, and this is the only outdoor space that is considered. Leo was talking about on the first floor, there are 3 cutout bays. If you're facing that building, you'll know that the old design had those cutouts where the door was a little bit farther back. Those are not proposed for AB sales. The rooftop restaurant will serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it will cease operation, as I said, at 11. The ground level has street-facing retail. It is shaded in green, as you can see on the left where it says first floor. Second floor is an open-air mezzanine in keeping with the historic culture of buildings in Ybor. The rear of the property, that's shaded in tan here that you can see. That is where the new construction is going to come in. And that is proposed only to house stairways, ADA restrooms, wheelchair-accessible elevators, mechanical systems, and a commercial kitchen. The building is not currently up to ADA standards. We will bring it up into compliance with ADA standards. This is a big investment and a high-quality investment, and I want to show you some renderings that reflect that. These images of the restaurant spaces reflect the standards that will endure throughout the construction and operation of the site. The high standard of design complements our neighbors. Across the street is the Attic, and across the street is 7th and Grove. We want to bring something that is compatible with the high quality of those spaces. So here's the site outlined in red. As you'll see, the building is going to receive a significant investment if this application is approved. One thing I want you to notice here in the red box is the gap in the back where there's currently an open space. I'm going to get to that in a second, and we're going to clean that up. This is the building as it sits today, bordering 7th and 19th. You may recognize it as the former site of the Blind Tiger. Mr. Torres, the proprietor, has kindly offered his support of this application. He is here with us tonight, and his letter is in the record. This site has gone through extensive applications and has received approvals from the Barrio Latino Commission unanimously and enthusiastically. They approved the expansion in July of 2024. The balcony shown here has existed since 1973. We have an approved right-of-way encroachment agreement. There's not going to be sales on the balcony, but the balcony is staying. It is of historic significance. The existing design has gone through the process of approval and has received approval from Natural Resources, Construction Services, Zoning, Transportation, Fire, Stormwater, and Legal. Okay. Here is a depiction of what the addition of the building is going to look like, overimposed with the historic structure that is existing. You can see the existing building in the darker brick and the new addition in the glass and the lighter brick behind it. So this is a view from 19th as you're looking at that building. The glazing windows on the 19th Street side offer a transition between the existing historic structure and the new, more modern addition. The way this is designed, where you can't touch, obviously, the historic structure, but you have to demarcate it. And the way you do that is you build something a little bit more modern as the addition, and it is stepped back from the street as well. This is consistent with BLC design guidelines, the comprehensive plan, and the U.S. Department of Interior standards when you're adding to a historic structure. Most of this expansion area in the back, the new part that you see, this is what's going to house the kitchen, the operational system, the cold storage. Very little of this new space on the interior side is intended for members of the public. The features that make this site safer, and I know we're going to talk about safety in Ybor because that is important. Expansion to the rear results in a zero lot line. I had talked about, remember that gap in the red box. This brings the building all the way to the back, so there's no spaces for anyone to loiter or hang out when it gets dark. You can see the lighting pictured here is going to go all the way around the building, consistent with BLC standards, so that in the back of the building, as well as on the side of the building. In the front of the building, there's an emphasis on safety through lighting. The glazing with the windows is actually also a safety feature. It's called an eyes on the street design feature. This activates the streetscape along 19th. Right now, there's really not a lot of activation on 19th, and I want to point you to this door on the bottom right that you see in the new addition. That is the access now to the rooftop restaurant. That is how you're going to get into the rooftop restaurant. Again, this is morning through night, closing at 11 p.m., breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's going to be the access there, and then the access to the retail, the art exhibitions, and the other uses will be off of 7th. In the interest of time, I'm going to submit a memo fully addressing each of the special use criteria I'll deliver to Mr. Shelby as part of the record, but I want to highlight 4 of them of particular importance, and that's public health, safety, welfare, compatibility of use, consistency with the comp plan, and the issue of precedent. For public safety, health, and general welfare, we understand safety in Ybor is paramount, and of course that is for good reason. For the comfort of the applicant's patrons, for the good of the community, the applicant has pledged to ensure a state-of-the-art and cutting-edge security measures in place. Other establishments in the district are required to have 2 off-duty sworn law enforcement officers. While not required, we are committing to having 4 exterior off-duty officers, starting at 9 p.m. Thursday through Saturday, and 2 officers the rest of the week. We'll have advanced screening technology at public entrances, similar to what you see at sporting events and theaters, but integrated into the building. We will have interior security personnel in excess of what the code requires. Code requires 1 security personnel for 150 occupants. We're going to provide 1 per 100. We'll have 8K cameras covering all exterior components of the building. The site, again, will be very well lit, consistent with the BLC standards, and the 7th Avenue entrances are going to be restricted to age 21 and up after 9 p.m. We'll also manage the noise. The rooftop, again, a partially open-air restaurant. This component ceases operations at 11 p.m. No amplified music, of course, after that time. The next standard I want to highlight is the compatibility with the surrounding properties. This is an urban environment. It's in the urban village. The applicant is proposing an addition that will keep the block activated all day. Activating this part of Ybor City will be good for residents. It will be good for visitors. It is something that this council has really encouraged applicants to do, is to really have options for all-day use in these types of buildings, and this provides that. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the roof, art exhibition, street-level retail during the day, and entertainment at night. It is pedestrian-friendly. It is very close to a transit stop for the trolley, and it is mixed use, like the comprehensive plan calls for. As you'll see in the memo that I will submit, we are in conformity with land use policies 1.2.3, 1.2.6, 1.2.14, 1.2.16, and 1.2.24. A lot of these are about external impacts for future neighbors, the relation of the building and the scale, and really being compatible with the surrounding community, the lighting, the character, and the historic design. But the most important thing, I think, regarding what 27-129 calls for in your evaluation is the idea about precedent. And the code really wants to make sure you're not creating bad precedent by approving an application such as this. I will offer you that approval today emphasizes very good precedent. When an applicant comes before you asking for hours to code in Ybor City, you should be asking the applicant to provide certain things. Those things should include a mixed-use development, something commensurate, a development commensurate with the high quality of its neighboring establishments, high-quality construction and design, proximity to public transit, heightened security incorporated into the design itself, activation of the street with restaurant and retail hours morning through night, heightened safety and security plan with additional off-duty officers, historic sensitivity with a unanimous BLC approval for design, outdoor components closing by 11 p.m., and an already existing AB approval on site. If an applicant comes forward with all of those things, that is good precedent to approve an application like that. There are very, very few of them that will come before you that can offer all those things. I submit to you that we are one of them, and we ask for your approval. I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions? If not, I will go to public comment. Ma'am in red, were you sworn in or did you come in after we swore everybody in? Are you going to be speaking tonight? No? Okay, then you're good. Anybody wish to speak on item number 5 for public comment for this item? Please come on up. You were all sworn in, so you're good to go. Oh, Okay, we'll go to them right after, yeah. I see the name. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, please state your name.
Roberto Torres. Hi, how are you guys doing today?
I'm a girl. Yours is her too.
Hi, sorry.
It's okay.
So my name is Roberto Torres, and I think I've had conversations with you at different times. 1901 East 7th Avenue is where I built my business. Now we went from 1 to 7 locations. I had the opportunity to meet the current owner at one point after the close of the sale, and it was his knowledge, his ability to listen, his opportunity to learn about the district, feedback, and how much of a caretaker he wants to be for the property. Why I'm here today. This building has a specific history, in a sense that you can't recreate a building that has this much history. Specifically that's where the Tropicana Cafe started before it moved across the street. That's where Cafe Ovo was from 1989 until 2003, and then it became an architecture office before we took it over. So it wasn't activated. It has not been activated the way that it should for an extended period of time until we got there in 2014. And for the last 10 years, it has been my pleasure to see an opportunity to be part of the history of Ybor and for us to take an opportunity to create a business that weaves itself into the fabric of the district. I'm not here in a position to say that this is significant because of the amount of investment. However, it is worth noting that the amount of investment, it's what's going to ensure that this type of structure is going to be here for the next 100 years. My capacity is also not as a Barrio Latino commissioner. I actually missed that meeting on purpose because I didn't want to be perceived that I had any clout or I had any influence on that particular subject. We depend, as a Barrio Latino Commission, on our staff, and our staff had an opportunity to go extensively, very, very thorough with the team for the new owner for this particular project. So I put 100% my support behind this, and I believe that this is a good thing for the district, especially because it's going to be able to activate the type of businesses that we want to engage in our retail mix for our historic district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, come on up, sir. Please state your name.
Hello, my name is Andrew Matson. I'm here on kind of two parts. I'm here to support the project because I'm the business owner right next door to it. But I'm also the architect of record for the project too, right? And when Umberto talked about the architectural firm before, that was my office. I had worked in 1901 East 7th Avenue since 2004. We moved out, we moved next door to it. We've been there ever since then. So they are going to be our direct neighbor. And I'm just really impressed with Charlie's investment into the neighborhood. He's spending a lot of money to make the building better, bringing it up to full ADA compliance, restoring it, maintaining the historic nature of the building, and also bringing in a restaurant that, Ybor City really needs. There needs to be a lot more breakfast places. From a person that goes there, and when Tropicana moved out, there's not a lot of breakfast places left. So I'm very excited for this restaurant to be into the space, but I'm also excited for the building because, like I said, it's my neighbor, but I'm also the architect of record for it. So if there's any questions for you, for me.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next speaker, yes, sir. Please
Hey
state your
there.
name.
Michael Womack, 3105 North 15th Street. I am an Ybor resident. I'm a PR guy, so I write everything down. I'm just going to read this, if you don't mind. I've lived in Tampa my whole life. The majority of my time post-college I've spent in Ybor City as a renter, and I now own. I'm here today as an Ybor resident, but also someone who's passionate about seeing Ybor thrive and evolve in a way that respects its history while embracing its future. I think this project does that. I just wanted to speak to the letter that was submitted by the Ybor Neighborhood Association. It's somewhere in the records that you all see.
We received it by email.
Yeah, so while I understand their concerns, there's some inaccuracies. Specifically, this is a mixed-use space. It's a space that includes retail, a restaurant, and a venue. The developers have made it clear that this is something that's going to be active both night and day. I actually used to live right behind where this development is, and I can tell you firsthand that that side of 7th Avenue could definitely use more activation. It's not nearly as vibrant as the west side, and the development, I feel like, will bring some much-needed energy to that side of 7th Avenue. It's a mixed-use space with commercial elements, including the liquor license being requested. I think will be a welcome addition, not just for residents like me, but for our tourists that visit us. This project isn't about changing the essence of Ybor, it's about enhancing it. It's about ensuring that the historic neighborhood continues to evolve in a way that keeps it exciting and relevant for future generations while preserving what makes Ybor special and what I came to love about it. So I humbly request that you all vote to approve this request. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there anybody else here in person? If not, I have two speakers, David Bailey and Stephanie Harrison Bailey. Please turn your cameras on, turn on your microphones, raise your right hand, and we will swear you in. So if you could bring them up on the screen so we can see them. Are they two separate screens or are they together? Okay, so David, we see you, and we need to get Stephanie. Stephanie is there. Stephanie, please raise your right hand. We will swear you in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Bailey, you're up first. Please state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi there, David Bailey, resident and business owner in historic Ybor City. Happy to see the neighborhood show up for this discussion. And there was mention of the letter that was submitted, which had some points of concern. So for me personally, when I walk down 7th Avenue, I think like all of us, I see glimmers of hope for daytime businesses, but I also have founded concerns about large venue lounges, which is what the application describes it as. And every time you approve, not that you're approving this as a large venue lounge, it's more the use. We lose unique businesses and storefronts on 7th Avenue that have been there for over 100 years, and I think that's a serious consideration. And in this case, even though there are some components to this which are mixed use, I would say by and large, this is a pretty monolithic use, which I agree from the renderings and the words and the promises tonight looks like a solid development. But again, we have to be aware of what can happen. And if something goes wrong and we have this large venue, we end up with large vacancies. We have also seen numerous times where establishments present that they are going to have a restaurant component, and then fast forward a year or two later and they decide to fold the restaurant component. We're just left with a large venue lounge, which we have more than enough of today. And so while I believe Mr. Singer when he says what he said tonight, and I mean no disrespect to him, I guess my question to you is what assurances do we have, which can be binding, that this remains a mixed use food service related business with significant daytime hours? So if those questions can be answered, you can make your decisions based upon that. But if they can't, I hate to say that I have to assume the worst, but living in Ybor City for over 20 years, I think we've been here before. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Stephanie Harrison Bailey. Ma'am, go ahead, please state your name.
Hi there, Stephanie Harrison Bailey, also resident of Ybor. And I just want to say that I appreciate the entire presentation that I got to listen to for the last little bit on this project. It's kind of the first time that I've had a city council presentation change my mind somewhat on a project. So obviously, I'm a part of the historic Ybor board that wrote the letter that you guys have sitting in front of you as city council. But speaking as an individual, I am very excited as an individual and also as an architect and developer myself. I am very excited by the renderings I see. They look great. It's like about time that Ybor got some beautiful new development that is really thoughtful. But I will also agree with David's sentiment about a little bit of worry or hesitation with large venue projects that have gone into Ybor before, and they've gone in as both restaurant and alcohol use, which is fine. And then they've learned that they can't make the money they need to make from the restaurant use. So the restaurant use goes away, and then we're just left with another bar. And I know that there, like David said, there's ways to bind that restaurant use, that daytime use. So it would be great if we could explore that. And I am super happy to frequent this space once it's up and running, because I would love another breakfast spot in Ybor. And that's it. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? No, that concludes. So, sir, this is, I'm gonna go to you and then I'll go to Miranda. A large venue, beer, wine, and liquor, this would be comparable to the Columbia Restaurant, would be something of this same caliber, essentially, right?
Or Tangra.
For the restaurant use up top, yes, that's what you're talking about, a significant investment in a full-scale restaurant open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So the short answer to your question is yes. The longer answer to your question, if I may, a couple things. One, I want to put on the record, we had a community meeting on September 4th in Ybor at the site, and we received no opposition there. We have done what we believe is a pretty extensive outreach and education campaign in the community, and I think that's reflected tonight. You know, I've been doing this a while, and you've been doing this a while, and when these type of applications come in front of you in Ybor City, generally, you know, we're likely to see a packed room with a lot of upset people. That is not the case here. In fact, the opposite. In terms of ensuring that what we're saying is actually going to happen, I think there's a couple ways to do that. One, the design approved by the barrio is binding, and we will certainly live up to that. Number two, if the concern of council, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit to what I think might be coming, but if there is a concern of council that this restaurant use is going to go away and we're going to be left with this large venue that can do whatever it is they want, we certainly would be open between first and second reading to adding a condition to the plan that you don't get the large venue use without the restaurant use. Happy to do that. Happy to do that with the retail use on the first floor as well. This applicant is going to do what he says he's going to do. And if you want to bind future people, if for some reason this guy gets hit by a bus and, you know, there's no way that he can continue the business operation and someone else has to come in and take over, you want them bound to this plan. You want them bound to the retail. You want them bound to the restaurant. And I think that's what David and Stephanie and probably some other community members and neighbors are concerned about as well. We'll be proactive about it and say require it. We're on board.
And I appreciate that because, you know, sharing those concerns, I think it's a beautiful project, compliments to the architect, and I wish it much success because, again, Ybor is changing, but, you know, you have the Columbia on one side, you had Las Novedades on the other side. Historically, you know, it's not the first time that we've had these larger venues, types of venues. You know, where do you get the breakfast, lunch, and dinner? At the Blind Tiger Cafe, you get coffee, you know, there's options there, but it's limited because the Tropicana's out. Again, places that I used to go to are no longer there anymore. I think it's a great project. But again, you know, you answered, you know, I believe the concerns of the folks that were online to give them assurance. Because again, a restaurant could fail, and restaurants fail at a very, very high rate. And then what moves in there? You know, another nightclub, large venue, and then it's just the same old Ybor City of the last 30 years. But again, this is a very nice, upscale, classy project, you know, per the rendering. So thank you very much. Councilmember Hurtak, Councilmember Miranda.
Ms. Johnson-Velez. From my understanding, but I'm going to ask, we can't guarantee a restaurant usage, can we?
Susan Johnson-Velez, Legal Department. No, you can. It could be a condition that is added to this particular permit, but someone could come in, a new owner or a new operator could come in and seek your approval to change the use at some point down the road.
But it would require our approval.
It would require your approval, that's correct.
My second question is, I know that we've talked before, when you wet zone a property, that you have to wet zone the full property. I don't think we can piecemeal it out. So we can't wet zone the operating hours of the roof to only being till 11 p.m., can we?
That's a little difficult to enforce.
That's my
I think
fear.
It can be put in there, but it's,
Yeah.
the question is enforcement of that.
Okay, so thank you. And I have a question for the applicant. I know you talk about having some retail on the bottom, but what about the rest of the bottom space during the day? Will that be empty, or will that be a restaurant usage?
That will be large venue space, that will be overflow restaurant space, that will be event space, that will be available to the public to use.
Okay. And so I'm going to ask a question that I think will make people feel better. At least it will make me feel better. Would you be willing to take the active AB sales hour from the current permit and use them for yours, which would be 11 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday and 1 a.m. Thursday through Saturday?
So the site plan has actually both of them listed. It's a little confusing, and I'm happy to put that up for you and put it in the record if that's helpful. But the site plan condition says to Chapter 14, the applicant wants Chapter 14 just like 90 out of the 98 others that you've approved since 1990. They want to be treated similarly, so they're pretty stuck on the Chapter 14.
Yeah, then I won't be able to support this because we can't separate the rooftop hours. We can't say that this is not going to become another large party establishment. I know you can say whatever you want, but just what happens if? Because this zoning isn't just for you, it runs with the property. And so if you can't, if those aren't conditions, then I simply can't support your project.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Singer, fine presentation, and fine people who had it speaking on behalf of the favoritism for it. There's another thing that you said earlier, and I want to make sure that I understood it right.
Yes, sir.
That you're not going to have 2 police, you're going to have 4, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, would that run with the alcohol license in case something happens that you close the restaurant, you don't need any police officers? So how is that going to be construed by myself and other council members? I want that straightened out.
It's a good question, and it's frankly, I would ask for your staff's help. We can only offer what we can offer, and I will put it on the site plan. I'll put it as a condition, whatever you need.
I'm not bringing it up. Your client brought it up,
Yes, sir.
discussion with you. You wouldn't misrepresent your client, I'm sure, because you're a fine attorney. So I just want to make sure that my ears heard what I heard.
Yes, sir.
And that my heart was with it, and that the 4 officers stay if something else goes away or not, because it's attached to the zoning, what you said. You said that.
To the
one is 4
extent that
officers
we
and
can
2
bind
is
it,
4.
we will bind it. To the extent we can, we will, and we're willing to do it.
Now, I don't know if that's legal or not. I gotta ask the legal department. I'm not an attorney. It's unique and wonderful, don't get me wrong.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Sean, Doc Development Coordination. If that is placed on the site plan as a condition of the approval, then it must remain. As long as that large venue classification is on that property, until someone else comes in and asks for a new permit and receives approval from council, it will remain.
I just wanna make sure I corrected what I heard.
And I would like to clear the record on the hours of operation.
Yeah, they should
So
also be in the site plan.
Currently on the site, there's a special restaurant designation. In the code under 27-132, if you are a special restaurant, you have certain hours. And those hours are closing at 11 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday and 1 a.m. Thursday through Saturday. So I just want to clear the record. The hours are not consistent with Chapter 14 on the current approval. All right, thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
No, I wanna make sure that between first and second reading, I remember what I heard.
All right, anybody else? If not, I'll ask to close the public hearing.
Move to close.
We
Second.
have a motion to close from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Moran, all in favor? Aye. Councilmember Henderson, would you like to read this?
File number AB 22446, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance approving the special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, large venue consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor, on that certain plot, or tract of land located at 1901 East 7th Avenue, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealing AB 1-16-28, providing an effective date.
And with the modifications.
And with the
If
modifications.
you could just, if it just be stated on the record so we're clear with that for staff. Did you get what those conditions to be added that have been agreed to? And
With the stated conditions added.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, just say it on the record so we know.
And-
for sure.
LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination, yes, with the additional condition that was agreed upon in this evening's meeting, that would also be added to the revisions that are already on the staff report.
those being, Mr.
Regarding the security plan and then also regarding the use of the restaurant.
So Ms. Doc, David Singer for the applicant. When Ms. Doc is saying the use of the restaurant, we will condition that the use of the restaurant needs to remain. I will offer that we will condition that the restaurant must close at 11 p.m. If staff finds that not enforceable or says we can't do it, okay, but we're willing to put it on the plan.
What?
Move to reopen.
Move to reopen the hearing from Councilman Vieira, second from who?
Councilman Vieira.
No, you made the motion. Miranda with the second, all in favor, aye. Yes, the hearing is now reopened. Let's get that clarification on the record.
Thank you, Council LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination. So I would like for the applicant to state on the record the hours of operation desired. If you condition the hours of the restaurant, that is the establishment. So if you would state the hours you would like to have or the understanding you have of your hours each day of the week.
David Singer for the applicant. If we can't condition a close by 11, I will tell you that's the business plan, is to close by 11. We're asking for Chapter 14.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilman Vieira, all in favor, aye. Councilmember Henderson has read the motion. Is there a second to it? Second from Councilman Vieira, ma'am?
This is why I can't support it, and this is why I think council should really reconsider this, because that means that the rooftop space will now be able to be alcohol beverage sales till 3 a.m. That is what we're approving. We are approving bottom floor, middle floor, and top floor, including an outdoor area, until 3 a.m.
We have a motion and a second.
I can only say this, if I may.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
The petitioner's attorney stated, and I understand what Ms. Hurtak is saying also, that the restaurant would close at 11. But he never said that the bar was going to close at 11, just the restaurant.
Would you like to reopen the hearing again?
Yes, sir.
Move to reopen.
Motion to reopen from Councilman Vieira. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yes, sir.
David Singer again for the applicant. Just to answer Councilman Miranda's question, there will be no activity on the roof deck, on the roof after 11 p.m. There will be
After
no
what?
restaurant, no bar, after 11 p.m. No restaurant, no bar, nothing
No sales of liquor after 11 o'clock, then what you're saying,
on the roof.
on the roof.
Yes,
What about,
But below, we're asking for Chapter 13, or Chapter 14 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
But the problem is they can't do that. We're not allowed. The only thing you can do is you approve it all or you approve none. And that's the issue.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm asking our legal department if that's ever, I've never heard of that, but I'm saying it's not a first. I don't know if that's history or not.
Part of the difference in this application, I think, from most of what you see, is actually what you should be encouraging from applicants, is a mix of uses, is a mixed-use development here. And so we're kind of breaking some new ground, right? We've got at least 3, potentially 4 uses in this space, and we're telling you they're gonna be operated by different folks and offering different services. It is a hole in the code. Councilwoman Hurtak is correct. It is a hole in the code that the applicant wants to do this. And the city is saying, I'm sorry, there's not a mechanism. At some point, I would encourage you to look at the level of investment that is happening here, what this is going to bring to the area, and have a little faith with us. And I know that that's difficult, but that's what I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am.
So Ms. Johnson-Velez. Even if they decide to put this on the site plan that says they will close this restaurant usage, I mean, I just want you to reiterate, we cannot stop them from then running a restaurant until 3 a.m. Can we?
Susan Johnson Velez, Legal Department. I mean, it can be enforced, but it's more difficult the more uses you have with, you know, different pieces, and it just makes it difficult for those coming in to try to enforce it, to enforce it, so.
But could we put that on the site plan? And with the difficulty of enforcement, because so if we put on the site plan that the rooftop area must close at 11 p.m. for everything, and that amplified noise must stop at 11 p.m. for everything, or for the top. Because I believe the amplified noise is already on the site plan for 11 p.m. I'm sorry, Mr. Applicant, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, I apologize for that. Is that something that you would be willing to put on the site plan, that you won't be doing any amplified noise from the rooftop until 11 p.m.? I thought that was on the site plan currently.
We offered that, David Singer for the applicant, we offered that in our direct presentation, no amplified anything after 11 p.m.
Okay.
If it's not, it will be.
Would you be willing to add, even with the difficulty of enforcement, would you be willing to add that all rooftop uses will cease at 11 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. See, that, it's harder, but that can change things for me.
Yes, sir.
And again, I
Councilman
just
Moran.
want clarity, because this is the first time, and I've been here a little while, but I've never seen one like this. So I'm as naive as anyone else. There are 4 floors in this building. 3 in a rooftop.
Yeah.
2 in the rooftop.
2 to 3. So then we really have a building that's got different criteria for 3 floors.
Yeah, I mean,
So my idea, not my idea, by thinking about it is, if you come in with an application for alcohol on 3, that address A, that address B, and address C, it would solve all that problem, because it would be codified in history what the petitioner wanted to do.
I'm with you, and I wish there was a mechanism in the code to do that now.
Yeah, but I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't want to be one either.
There's still time.
I don't have time to go back to law school.
Thank you, Council LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. Just to help out a little, we do have locations which have alcoholic beverage sales approvals, and they have different conditions on different portions of the site. So given the design of this site, I can see that concept where that rooftop would close at a certain time, and they are committed to closing that area. And that makes it clear, not a part of the rooftop, all of the rooftop closes. So that makes it easier for enforcement, and then you have your hours on the remainder.
And I think it's a beautiful innovation, it's something unique, something different, and it looks like very successful to me.
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to say that I do think it's a beautiful concept. My concern is really for the residents, because this is becoming a more residential area. So my big fear is the rooftop. And if we can actually condition the rooftop, I can support this project.
You and I are in alignment on this, and I think the community is in alignment on this.
And I promise you that this is something that I will tackle, different AB zoning for different floors, because I can see this being an issue. So this is something that I can work with staff on to see if we can change anything going forward. But I really appreciate you and staff for talking me through this.
Mr. Chairman, before the record closes, I just have a few things to hand to Mr. Shelby to enter into the record, the presentation, the memo about the comprehensive plan, and the other AB establishments in the area.
Anything to add? We should consider bringing back prohibition agents to. Yes.
Which floor?
Yes, sir. The motion has been read.
I'll make the amendment when we close.
Okay.
All right.
So motion to close, or
We're gonna close the public hearing. We have a motion and we have a second. Are you sure?
yes.
All right. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, aye. And Councilmember Henderson has read the motion. There was a second, and you would like to do an amendment?
Yes, an amendment with the hours for the roof portion, the entire roof portion, the hours will end at 11 p.m. every day of the week.
With no amplifiers.
With no amplified sound after 11 p.m. as well. Thank you so much for the reminder.
So we have
Do you accept my
I
amendment?
accept your amendment.
All right, we have a motion and a second with the accepted amendment. Let's do,
So this sounds like a grown people place, not teeny boppers.
yeah, teeny boppers. Roll call vote?
Henderson,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes, with the changes.
Clendenin, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously with Carlson being absent, Clendenin being absent at vote.
Thank you,
Sec-
Scott. Thank you, Council.
Yes, sir.
Second reading and adoption will be held on February 20th, 2025 at 10 a.m. in City Council Chambers, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir, please state your name.
Good evening, City Council and Chairman. Leo DeBartolome, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 6 is AB 22449. This is for the property at 2501 West Busch Boulevard. The applicant is represented by Alex Shaler, and the property owner is Rashawn Hospitality 5 LLC. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, beer and wine, consumption on premise only. The applicant is requesting AB sales or alcoholic beverage sales in 1,213 square feet of indoor area only. The alcohol beverage sales hours are consistent with Chapter 14. There are 21 parking spaces required based on the established use, and 31 spaces are provided. I have an aerial map here.
Upside down.
Yeah, turn around.
The subject site is outlined here in red. The site is on the northwest corner of West Busch Boulevard and North Armenia. The site is zoned Commercial General CG, and this is the last property. Outside here is the unincorporated Hillsborough, and the commercial corridor follows Busch Boulevard, West Busch Boulevard to the west, and there's a mixture of zoning and commercial uses along North Armenia. The applicant proposes a new alcoholic beverage sales location for beer and wine as a small venue. I have the site plan and elevations here. You can see the property boundaries here. This is going to be West Busch Boulevard, and this is North Armenia. Access to the site is from North Armenia here and from West Busch Boulevard here. The proposed alcoholic beverage sales location is going to be outlined here in white. These are elevations provided by the applicant showing the property as it exists now, and also have photos. This is a picture of the subject site. This is a photo facing north. The building is going to be to the left here. This is facing east on West Busch Boulevard. There's a Walgreens here on the northeast corner of Busch and North Armenia. This is facing south on Armenia. This is facing west on Busch Boulevard. The site is to the right here. This is another photo of the Walgreens from across the street. There's quite a bit of right-of-way between the two properties. This gives you an idea about the other commercial uses surrounding the site. This is facing south on North Armenia. And on the southeast corner of Armenia, there's other commercial uses. There are no waivers associated with this request. Development Coordination and Compliance staff review the application and find the request consistent with the applicable City of Tampa land development regulations. Minor site plan modifications are required to be made between first and second reading, and the applicant has provided a revision sheet for the record.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question. Can you put the site plan back up?
Sure.
This is, I mean, I'm sure the applicant will answer this to you, but just. So basically, this is a strip mall, and this is one section of a strip mall, one unit.
One unit.
Okay, thank you, that clarifies.
Yeah, Unit 5A.
Yeah, that's not the subway, it's not the, yeah.
Right.
All right. Anything else, sir?
No, sir, I'm available for questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? All right, applicant, come on up. Please state your name.
Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive, for the record. I'm gonna plug my laptop in really quick. I am here on behalf of the business owner of Fine Tampa Cigars, the Fernandezes. Mr. Neil Fernandez is going to speak in just a couple seconds. Yes, as Mr. DeBartolete teed up, I was going to mention that. This is only for about 1,200 square feet, a really small box within this retail center, which on the site plan looks really large, but in person, it looks really, really small. So this is at the corner of Busch and Armenia Avenue. I'll move on here. Also seen this aerial before, so I'll try to skip through some of this. I really wanted to emphasize with this that this is a very commercialized intersection. As you can see, we've got this air conditioning repair service to the south. To the southeast, you've got auto repair services, and then of course the Walgreens at the northeast corner. The closest residential is there behind the Walgreens, separated not only by Armenia Avenue, but also by those existing commercial uses at the corner there. A little bit about the establishment. There's about 16 total seats inside. That's split amongst a couple seats at the bar, some tables and chairs. We are requesting beer and wine sales only. There will be no liquor sales here. The current operating hours I have shown on the screen. Weekdays, open at 11, close at 9 p.m. Saturday, a bit earlier, close at 6 p.m. Currently fully closed on Sundays. I did put on the revised revision sheet. Our site plan currently has chapter 14 hours. Candidly, we don't need that at all. This is not today a late night establishment. It's not going to be a late night establishment. Does not draw a late night crowd. We are asking for a bit later than the current close time because Mr. Fernandez wants to stay open for Monday and Thursday night football. So we are having the AB sales cease at 11:30 p.m. All nights. And as Mr. DeBartolete mentioned, we do have full consistency from staff. We're not requesting any waivers with this application. And as mentioned, Mr. Fernandez is going to come up here and just give you guys a little bit of information about his small business. We did file this about 2 weeks after the August filing deadline, so he has been anxiously awaiting tonight. So I'll let him speak a little bit about that.
Councilmember Hurtak.
I have a quick question. This is very funny considering the last one. But just, you mentioned that you want to have closing hours 11:30. I would probably recommend Sunday through Saturday in case you end up deciding to open on a Sunday.
And that's on the revision sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
just
all
wanted
days,
to make
yes.
sure. It's very funny coming from the last
I
one that
know.
I'm recommending you widen your hours, but there we are.
Understood.
Yes, sir, please state your name.
Hello, Neil Fernandez, Fine Tampa Cigars. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, Ms. Schaller, who has been spearheading and guiding us through this process. Also, Leo from the zoning department has been incredibly helpful through the process. My wife is a Cuban immigrant. I am the son of Cuban immigrants. Cigars are part of Cuban culture, and it's quite magical that the city of Tampa is also intertwined with the cigar culture, and this component will definitely enhance our ability to provide a better service and experience to our clients. Thank you.
Anything else for the presentation? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Can I get a motion to close? We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda. Do we have a second from Councilman Hurtak? Wait, and there's a revision sheet? Yes. All right, we'll add that as well, sir. He's going to give it to Mr. Shelby? Huh? Yeah, I'm waiting until, are you good? Yes, this is the revision sheet. All right. I'm going to ask for the vote to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Yeah, we had a motion second. All right, the hearing is closed. Councilmember Hurtak, would you mind reading this item?
Yes, file number AB 224-49, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance approving a special use permit, SU2, for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 2501 West Busch Boulevard, unit number 5A, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Turn this thing off.
And trust us, there's nothing funny about it. If you've been in a crash, count on our experience.
Okay, and that includes.
My apologies to everyone.
No worries. It does. Including the revision sheet, which also does, by the way, include the new closing hours.
We have a motion,
Second.
a word from our sponsor, and a second. All in favor? Aye. Was it them?
Yeah, I guess
Any
so.
opposed? All right, motion passes with Clendenin and Carlson being absent.
Motion carries unanimously, and second reading and adoption will be held on
No,
February.
with Carlson and Clendenin being absent.
Motion carries unanimously with Clendenin being absent and Carlson being absent. That vote. Second reading and adoption will be held on February 20th, 2025 at 10 a.m. in City Council Chambers, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
That concludes our agenda for this evening. Mr. Shelby? Everything okay? Okay. Councilmember Miranda, do you have any new business?
Yes, I have one. I'd like to make a motion to present accommodation to Ms. Valentina Michelini, who has recently completed the audacious and complicated tasks and procedures to obtain the status of Eagle Scout from Scout BSA. I would like to make this presentation on Thursday, February 20th, 2025.
We have motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye. All right. Anything else, sir?
That's it.
Councilmember Vieira?
Yes, sir. A couple quick ones, if I may. This one is unique to Forest Hills. It deals with a property where some residents are concerned about the culverts and the ditches, and they want to know who maintains and owns it. And I thought the best way would just be to get a staff written report on it. So that's the background. I give you my word, there's nothing controversial on this. So if I may, I motion for staff to report back on which city department owns and operates the property behind 9419 Forest Hills Drive. Furthermore, that the appropriate department report back on the maintenance plan for the property as residents are concerned about the lack of drainage on this property due to the lack of maintenance dealing with culverts and ditches. And I would request a written report at the February 20th meeting, and to staff, if they need more time, that's fine.
We have motion from Councilmember Vieira, second Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes, sir.
Then Captain Kurt Royka, do y'all remember him?
Captain Kirk?
Yeah, well, no, not him, but he was the gentleman who was doing the the mental health unit for Tampa Police Department.
Yes.
And he would come here. The guy is just awesome.
Oh, yeah,
I like him a lot, and he retired recently, and I found out about it, so I contacted him to see if we could give him a council commendation. He's just a good guy. His son actually is in my son's graduating class at Freedom High School. So it appears that we have room on March 27th. So I wanted to give Captain Royka a commendation that day, if I may.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is that,
Yeah.
does that? Okay.
It's open. Let me double check. We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda, and yes, it's open, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Anything else?
Yeah, the last one, many of us knew the late Louis Betts, who was just,
I was gonna bring it up.
yes, sir. Louis, and I could go on about Louis. He kept it real, and he was just like a great guy. And if he liked you, you'd know about it. If he didn't like you, you'd probably know about it too. And I wanted to give a commendation to his family. It's not going to be at the forthcoming funeral on February 8th. I'm not sure if I can make it because of something with my son, but I was going to give one to his business associates and then one to his family. And what I'm going to do, council, is I'm going to have my aide send out an email so that anybody who wants to come to that may, because Lewis was a good soul.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Huge loss, great person, did a lot with the crisis center, did a lot with a lot of organizations in the community, and my condolences to his family. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Miranda, all in favor?
And
Aye, any opposed?
By the way, one thing, this is not a motion. Let me make sure I read this right. Oh, wow. So ATU 1464, I think the date to cut off for that terrible Tallahassee law is tomorrow. They still need a couple more union members. So just word out to any city of Tampa worker watching this, you could lose your union after tomorrow. So it's a big deal, that's all. Not that anybody's watching.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. Okay. In light of, some of our responsibilities this week, I am not sure exactly how to do this, but I want what I call a high-rise report of Bayshore Boulevard, of every high-rise that is on Bayshore Boulevard, what type of zoning it is, what administration passed it, and, what were the circumstances surrounding each of them. I just want to get a better understanding of, why the high-rises exist and in what capacity they came about. If maybe for my learning, I don't know if this needs to be just a report or if it should be a workshop for all of us, because obviously different administrations approved the things that exist on Bayshore Boulevard, but I want to know it without Darlene having to do a strenuous amount.
Why don't you start with the written, and then we can figure out if we want to.
So I would like to motion that I have a Bayshore Boulevard high-rise report of every structure that is several stories, anything that's very tall. So tall, anything beyond
3 and above?
five stories. 5 stories or higher, regarding the zoning, and
Construction date?
everything.
How about a map?
Yes, and a map.
Do we have a second? Second from Councilman Vieira, yes, sir, Councilman
I'd
Miranda.
like to ask if the other day I said something, and I'm sure that I'm right, but I got to verify it.
The historical nature.
Historical
Yes,
data
thank
about
you.
in the mid-70s, there was that council members, and I read the name of all of them, Duncan, Copeland, Friedman, Platt, Barjug, Spigola, and myself. And I'm almost 100% sure that we passed something that it was either 4 or 5, you couldn't put anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm going back to the 70s, 75 through 79. If maybe the city's got some records of it, they could find it. And the records, or ask the city clerk if they can find it somewhere in the minutes or something.
Councilman.
Yeah, so historical data, where would this come from? Do y'all know who would be doing this
Just
report?
say
What office?
staff.
Staff. So they have to decide who the staff is.
Yeah, there could be the
A
building
staff
department.
report, high-rise report for Bayshore Boulevard, anything 5 stories or taller, historical data surrounding Bayshore Boulevard.
If I can.
Yes.
And I appreciate you saying the historical data. Mr. Miranda has a recollection from the 70s. Something significant was the creation of the comprehensive plan, which was required by state law in the mid-1980s. And obviously, throughout the entire city, as you've heard, the city had to conform and create that, and that would be part of the historical nature of Bayshore.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Councilman Miranda.
One more, and I'm sorry. I know that Airbnbs are allowed in the
Oh,
city.
we got to vote on this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and then I have a bunch, so,
Okay,
yeah.
so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
This is the motion from Councilmember Henderson.
By April 6th.
Okay.
April 3rd is our meeting.
April 3rd, sorry.
Just real quick, a nice young man celebrating his birthday today, Louis Vieira Jr. Happy
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Louis.
That's very nice. Yeah, Lewis turns 18 today, and he is just the.
Are you driving yet?
Yeah, God, look, God bless us. But Lewis, I Not a better kid out there. Wonderful. Thank you, thank you. Greta.
Hurtak?
Thank you.
Lisa, what happened?
I moved,
Wait just a moment, what happened?
So, Councilwoman Henderson, we wanted that report to come back.
April 6th.
April 3rd.
Third.
Right.
As a written
Written.
report.
Right, that they're requesting June or July, they need time.
Oh, they need more time?
They need more time.
You know,
Can you look at a date?
sure.
I'll get it for you.
Thank you.
So if we have July, because we come back from vacation, how about July 17th?
That's usually gonna be budget. Let's not do end of July.
Okay, how about end of
End of
June
June.
26th?
Okay,
And
thank you,
then,
Ms.
and then, just to, I know, but
Amended
I
to
always
June
try to use people's last names, I apologize, and I was just blanking. So, can we see if that's when budget's gonna be presented, so we can make sure we don't add any things to that
Right,
date?
so we just said June 26th, correct?
Yeah, it doesn't say here.
But just thinking going forward, that might be something we wanna keep in mind.
We do have, if you all know, we do have to approve next week the calendar.
Oh, that's right.
So we can take.
You know what we should do? I should make sure, what I'll do is I'll forward that
'cause I don't
to,
have anything
I'll
else in
forward that to the
July.
budget office and to legal.
But it was this year, so I'm just, or
Right,
last
so
year.
we have to approve the calendar next week. If we might have to adjust this a little bit, we'll be able to do that next week under new business.
All right, so June 26th, written report.
Correct.
All right, so let the record reflect, the motion by Councilmember Henderson is for June 26th.
Yes.
Written report. All right, and any opposition? No? And then I'm gonna go to Councilmember Hurtak, and then I'll go back to you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we had an issue a while back where public wanted to talk during the first reading of an ordinance, and per council rules, we don't allow that. So I just want to, I just moved to allow public comment during the first reading of any ordinance.
Treat it like a public hearing, you said?
Yeah, just
Okay.
because it's an ordinance, and
Is that fine?
right now, we only allow it during second reading, and that makes no sense.
Yeah, no, you're right. All right, we have a motion to modify the.
Our council
the-
rules of
the council
procedures.
rules. Yes, sir.
And just so council is clear.
Put your microphone on, please.
Just so,
Sorry.
just so,
Gotta
just
do
so,
that.
just so council is clear, and
Feeling teachery
and
today.
particularly that the public is clear, that if an ordinance is on for first reading, even though it's not set for a public hearing, and that's the way Florida statutes is set up, they could still talk at the beginning of the meeting under general public comment. What I believe Councilwoman Hurtak wishes is to give them the opportunity, if they wish to stay till the afternoon and hear a report or hear whatever presentation is and wishes to comment to council perhaps regarding changes or improvements or.
Yes.
Yeah, it's.
They'll have that opportunity as well.
Yes.
I have a feeling I know who's gonna be doing that, but okay. It's fine.
Fair
We
is
have a-
fair.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman
Yeah.
Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so these are the three that we talked about earlier today having to do with stormwater.
Yeah.
I worked with Vic on this afternoon, so we've
And
kind
you
of.
have dates
Thank
and
you. I
everything?
Yeah, I have dates, I have times, I have everything. So number one, we're gonna be doing recurring monthly reports starting on March 6th, 2025, and I have all this written for you, so I'll hand this to you afterward. Mobility Department to provide a monthly in-person report on maintenance work performed on the stormwater system, including pump stations, ditches, pipes, inlets, and ponds. This report will take place on the first regular council meeting session of each month. A corresponding written report should be made available to council during the verbal update and uploaded to OnBase or to the city's website after the staff report is completed. The reason I'm asking for that is so they don't have to put it in 2 weeks early for OnBase. The report should include the third-party costs incurred by vendor for the current reporting month, along with a year-to-date total of expense by vendor. As the first FY25 report, the March 6th report should include actual costs for each month beginning October 1, 2024.
Second.
And this, the idea is we'll know what's happening for every month. So that's my first
I
one.
think it's a great idea, great motion. Motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? What's next?
Number two, equipment and personnel info, non-recurring. On March 6, 2025, Mobility Department to provide an in-person report detailing personnel, third-party maintenance contracts and equipment paid for by the Stormwater Service Assessment with a breakdown of costs for each for FY23, FY24, and budgeted FY25. A corresponding written report should be made available to council during the verbal update and uploaded to OnBase or the city's website after the staff report is completed.
Do we have room on that March 6th?
Yes, we have, we only have 5, so that makes,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
shows 5 here.
yeah, so that would be 7. That would be our 7.
All right, fair enough. Motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I mean, and all of this kind of goes together, and
Yeah.
so this last one, even, this we would have to waive our rules, but, the additional $500,000 request, the mobility department to be allocated an additional $500,000 per year starting FY25 to the stormwater operations budget in support of a contract to provide ditch grading services. On March 6th, CFO Rojero to provide funding source for the incremental $500,000 to be used in FY25, and the data will be transferred to the Stormwater Service Assessment Fund.
Do we need a motion first to override the rules to allow for that extra staff report, Mr. Shelby?
If so, I'll move.
All right, we have a motion to amend the rules so we can allow that extra staff report. Motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that's
Councilman
5.
Hurtak, you said Vieira.
Yeah, but this is the
okay,
motion
okay.
Yeah,
to
this
allow the
is
rules.
to allow for more staff reports. Now, this is the motion for the $500,000 annually. Yes, ma'am.
Vieira and
Vieira
Miranda.
Yeah. So that passed. So now the motion on the floor is Councilmember Hurtak for the $500,000
Second.
annually as requested. She has it all written. Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I just want to say thank you all for a great conversation today, and if this needs to be modified, we'll do it, but we got to start somewhere.
No,
And-
I wholeheartedly support it. I mean, you know the concerns of this community. We've all heard them, and I think this is very
One
good.
other thing,
Yes, sir.
and I'm sorry to bring it up, I said I only had one, but I received something here that Airbnbs are certainly allowed by law. However, we have a conflict when the Airbnb people come in a motor home and put the motor home in the, here it is right here.
A motorhome or a motorhome?
What, a motor home in front of the Airbnb, so now they're saying inside and outside.
Yep.
And I know the motorhomes are allowed, they're gonna be in the back of the sidewall of the building, so we have a conflict, and I want a resolution. What are we gonna do with it? I don't know. We have to have code
And
enforcement.
I've gotten plenty of phone calls and stuff like that.
All
so
right,
over
but
the
it
years.
is right here.
They're living in it?
Yeah, I don't know they're living in it, but they drove in a motorhome, so why would
Mr.
they rent a
Miranda?
house if they're not gonna live in it?
Did you want me to put it on the overhead? It's up to you.
No,
Because that way
it's
the
ridiculous,
staff
but
and
I
the
don't-
public can
I'm
see
not
it.
looking for publicity, I'm looking to solve this problem.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion. Do a second? Second from Councilmember Vieira, and the motion, you got it? All in favor?
All right.
What, did you have a date, or?
Whatever the council has a date that we can make the head of, the chief of,
You want an in-person, or you want a written?
well, whatever they, we can have a report if you want.
You want to do a
It
written?
might be easier for them, because the head of court enforcement come and say, yes, you can do it, you cannot do it.
Let's do a written report.
Yeah, then
written
a written
report is
report.
How about, to give them some time, how about February 20th?
That's
It gives
fine.
it about 3 weeks. Written report.
And staff can always contact you directly if they want more information.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, this is a written report for February 20th. May I have a motion to receive and file? We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye, we are adjourned.
Yeah.
At a